Hello everyone, good evening and welcome and well zooming everyone. Thank you joining me and everyone here on special teachings. We have rescheduled since this term to here on Thursday evenings, a bit earlier than 7:45 on Tuesdays. So hopefully it is conveniencing people or not inconveniencing some other people's timing, because it may clash their prior commitment. You never can time one that suits everyone. But those who are into early nights, then doing 6 p.m. Suits more than starting 7:45 on Tuesdays and then go on late. It definitely affects quite a few people. So thank you for people making your time and dedicated to study a sacred text and reading this text, Vishuddhimagga, Path of Purification, with me. Thank you, everyone. Before we start, as usual, we will do the formal prayers in joining our hands and heart and feelings and devotion, rekindling our intent and attention to being here with everyone, and going through this very special text for the benefit of not just for us and for today or for tonight, but for others and for our future way of thinking, and where we deal with life and difficulties or in the highs and lows. If we have heard teachings, we will remember them. And sometimes if you don't know, if you have nothing good to remember, you can't apply them. So it's good to have heard, then you have remember them, and then you even remember them to apply when times needed. Maybe even help to clarify often our congested mind with the teachings. Teaching means pointing, so it points to us. It's this teaching given by the Buddha and re-illustrated by, what you call the Buddhagosha, a very, very, very celebrated Buddhist monk. According to the Theravada tradition, he's probably revered more than as equal to Nagarjuna is among the Mahayanists, because Theravadins have a totally different version of history. For them, their history doesn't record personages of Nagarjuna. And Mahayanists, on the other hand, do record personages of Buddhagosha, but they have a different story. They don't talk about him being the author of this book, for instance. So it's quite now we are living in a very 21st century where all the texts are available. You can't they're not behind that mountain or that not behind that language. Now everything is complete on display, so it's very good to discover these kind of gems in all languages. So only mountains were the languages. Only mountains were the barriers or prejudices saying they are this school's texts and we don't study that. But thank goodness I don't think like that. And when I saw Vishuddhimagga, the book, early in the early 80s, I didn't believe my eyes. Oh, what a wonderful book! But it was not readily available. It was in one of the libraries, and very big book, big thick book. Nowadays, you just download it on the PDF, and also very selflessly published, freely distributed these books by corporate body of Buddha Educational Foundation in Taiwan. They publish and send these books and many others to you. You just have to fill in a form and go through the catalog. And this is just one of the hundreds of books, They're so generous. They're really Buddhist, because they really have huge philanthropical organization, as well as ordinary people also donate. Once you receive so many valuable books, of course you would like to donate to them, isn't it? So it's really, that's how Buddhist tradition should be propagated and encouraged, so that people who don't have money can also get those books.
Could you please repeat the publishing?
Yes, the corporate body of the Buddha Educational Foundation. They're based in Taipei. I repeat, the corporate body of the Buddha Educational Foundation. And this book is for free distribution. Nobody about to sell or resell. And incredible. And they'll send you in hundreds of copies if you like. Our sister center up here in Shakyamuni Buddhist Center, they receive thousands of books because they bother to fill in the form and write to them. So one thing about these books is some prints are so small, so they really haven't thought through that. But I'm sure. But then they are available on online, where you can enlarge as large as elephant. So you can't say they're too small a print I can't read. So we live in a very beautiful world where everything is right before you. There's no shortage of resources. But the time poor. People are so time poor to have a discipline to sit and read, let alone have a group together like this. So it's very good that you are all committed. To give you time to read and listen to me. And I'm reading. I have more delight to read such books than anything you can do. So I'm an avid reader, so it's good to even better to read formally for many like-minded people who are listening. So thank you very much. Merit will be enormous. So dedicate this by first showing respect to the Triple Gem and then renew our four immeasurables and bodhicitta. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Atere Pire Lajama Bhavachu Ayendala Ajare Buddha Ujubi Enda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Atere Pire Lajama Bhavachu Ayendala Ajare Buddha Ujubi Enda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Atere Pire Lajama Bhavachu Ayendala Ajare Buddha Ujubi. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and those never. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those never. May all beings have happiness, and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell free from her judgment and her aversion to those and according to the intelligence and predisposition of the Dharma agrelo and come go. Adyadam gade gade baranga de barazanga de buddhizo gade baranga de baranga de buddhizo gade baranga de barazanga 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 de buddhizo Gadengade barangade 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 barazanga de buddhizo. So this book, Path to Purification, has 23 chapters, and we are currently looking at the first chapter, the chapter on the virtue, which is actually Shila. This book consists of dealing with the three Tripitakas, three collection of Buddhist teachings, Shila, the ethical conduct, or you can call it, or precepts or self-discipline, as well as meditation and wisdom. Here in this book they translate as a virtue for Shila and contemplation for meditation and understanding for wisdom. So we need to familiarize those terms that Venerable Jnana-Molika, a celebrated German monk, if you read his life and his contribution to the Pali Buddhism, if you can call it. I wouldn't call it because it's more than it's just Theravada Buddhism, really, because he is such an incredible German monk who came to Sri Lanka and studied Pali through one of the celebrated Sri Lankan Buddhist monk scholars. And then he not only mastered Pali language, but he translated many Buddhist texts, and this is one of the early one. So therefore, he mainly uses those terms: virtue for Shila, and contemplation for dhyana, and understanding for prajna. So we usually tend to translate them as discipline, meditation, and wisdom. So basically, virtue, discipline is a virtue. So that's why he calls the title virtue here. We read already the first 46 paragraphs. Very good thing about the way he organizes is that he labels numbers each paragraph in the chapter. So if you look at chapter 1, paragraph 45, that's what we're studying. Proper resort. There's proper resort and improper resort. Here, in what is improper resort? Resort means what you rely on. Here, someone has prostitute as a resort, or he has widows, old maids, eunuchs, bhikshunis, or taverns as a resort, or he dwells associated with kings, ministers, sectarians, disciples, in unbecoming association with laymen, or he cultivates frequent honors. Such families as are faithless, untrusting, abusive, rude, who wish harm, wish ill, wish woe, wish no surcease of bondage for bhikshus and bhikshunis, for males and female devotees. This is called improper resort. What a resort here refers to means really accompaniment. And if you spend time companion of these people, then there is something to do with what these people do or tend to influence. So there are bhikkhus, monastic practitioners who are adhering to the virtue of the Buddha discipline should not resort to these kind of improper companions or places. Here in what is proper resort. So what are the proper resorts? Here someone does not have a prostitute as a resort or taverns as a resort, or he does not dwell associated with kings. Like some monastics in India, monasteries, they don't allow the monks to stay in hotels, for instance. They think they should stay in temples. Quite a lot of devout Theravadin Buddhist pilgrims, I've seen them. They all wear white clothes when they pilgrim, and they all stay in the temples. And they just rather sleep on the floors, and they give donation to the temple. Temple provides something basic, and nobody stays in the hotels. So that this probably are they really are following, not sleeping on high bed and of course instead of $200 costing hotel nights, it's quite too extravagant for any person. I don't know. So they regard this for monastics anyway as improper resort. So. So therefore one has to, the proper resort is someone who does not use all the above without having to read all that list that we went through. Thus he should furnish with, fully furnished with, provided with, fully provided with, supplied with, possess of, endowed with proper conduct with this and this proper resort. So proper resort is a quite simple dwellings. Hence it is said, possess of the proper conduct and resort. Furthermore, proper conduct and resort should be also to be understood here in the following way. For improper conduct is twofold, as bodily and verbal. So one thing is kind of place and things you associate with. One thing is one's own conduct, physical and verbal. Firstly, for physical conduct, what is a bodily improper conduct? Here someone acts disrespectfully before the community. He stands jostling elder bhikkhus, sits jostling them, stands in front of them, sits in front of them, sits on high seats, sits on with his head covered, talks standing up, talks waving his arms, walks with sandals with elder bhikkhus, walks without sandals, walks on a high walk while they walk on a low walk, walks on a walk while they walk on the ground, stands pushing elder bhikkhus, sits pushing them, prevents the new bhikkhunis from getting a seat, and in the bathhouse, without asking elder bhikkhus, he puts wood on the stove, bolts the door, and at the bathing place, he enters the water, jostling elder bhikkhus, enters in it in front of them, bathes jostling them, bathes in front of them, comes out jostling them, comes out in front of them, and entering inside a house, he goes jostling elder bhikkhus, goes in front of them, pushing forward, he goes in front of them. And where families have inner private screened rooms, in which the women of the family, the girls of the family sits, there he enters abruptly and he strokes a child's head. This is called bodily improper conduct. So this is talking about the manner and behavior of an ordained bhikkhu. Bhikkhu should not physically indulge in this, improper conduct these days. Of course, there's you can't even look at people these days. These days, you see, they're more improper. You can't even look, let alone if the look isn't the right way, you could probably get into trouble, let alone touching or stroking a young boy's head. That's talking about. These days, actually, there are such a kind of improper conduct would be treated with contempt. You don't have to be ordained bhikkhu to be like that. So Buddha was well ahead of time why these things should be abstained from. So that's a physical improper conduct. Whereas a verbal improper conduct is here someone disrespectfully before the community without asking elder because he talks on the Dharma, answer questions, or recite Pratimoksha, talks standing up, talks waving his arms, having entered inside how he speaks to a woman or girl, thus you so-and-so, such and such of a clan, what is there? Is there rice gruel? Is there cooked rice? Is there any hard food to eat? What shall we drink? What hard food shall we eat? What soft food shall we eat? Or what will you give me? He chatters like this. This is called verbal improper conduct. So proper conduct should be understood in the opposite sense to that. Furthermore, bhikshus is respectful, differential, possessed of conscience and shame, wears his inner robe properly, wears his upper robe properly. His manner inspires confidence, whether in moving forwards or backwards, looking ahead or aside, bending or stretching. His eyes are downcast. He has a good deportment. He guards the doors of his five sense faculties, knows the right measure of eating, is devoted to wakefulness, possess mindfulness and full awareness, wants little, is contented, is strenuous, is a careful observer of good behavior, and treats the teachers with a great respect. This is called proper conduct. So this is usually the sort of things also some of the conduct there when a student before their masters should, how they behave in front of master. But here it's talking about towards anyone, really. Any conduct, any misconduct, any kind of questionable conduct should be abstained. So this verse is how proper conduct should be understood. Proper resort is therefore of three kinds. Resort as support, proper resort as guarding, proper resort as anchoring. Here, what is proper resort as support? A good friend who exhibits instances of talk in whose presence one hears what is not heard, corrects what one has been heard, gets rid of doubt, rectifies one's view, gains confidence, or training under whom one grows faith, virtue, learning, generosity, understanding. This is called resort as support. Resort as support. What is proper resort as guarding is here a bhikshu having entered inside a house, having gone into a street, goes with the downcast eyes, seeing the length of a plow yoke maybe 2 meters, restrained, not looking at an elephant, not looking at a horse, a carriage, a pedestrian, a woman, a man, not looking up, not looking down, not staring this way or that. This is called proper resort as guarding. So guarding really, Shantideva talks about mindfulness, that you should walk like as if you're stalking someone, without the steps being noisy or something like that. Shantideva talks all of this. You can see even people like Shantideva is not a monastic as a monk who's writing whatever he thinks. He would have been completely well acquainted with this kind of literature from the sutras, where the monastic is asked to walk in a particular way, wear the robes in a particular way. All of those he may not call them the Vinaya, but he called them mindfulness, to guard your mind. If you look in the 3rd or 4th chapter of Bodhisattvas of Real Life, he talks all about this. Number 51, what is proper resort as anchoring? It is 4 foundation mindfulness on which mind is anchored. And this is said by the Blessed One. Bhikkhus, what is the bhikshu's resort? His own native place. It is these 4 foundation of mindfulness. This is called proper resort as anchoring. So that's why they always say the establishment of mindfulness. Establishing means anchoring oneself to the mindfulness body, feeling, thoughts, and phenomena. Being thus furnished endowed with this proper conduct, this proper resort, he is on that account called one possessed of proper conduct and resort. 52. Seeing fear in the slightest fault. Yeah, so therefore becoming almost having fear, slightest fault, meaning if one creates a fault, then it will have consequences to others and friends and oneself and future and so on. So that is talking about how really bearing mindfulness. Mindfully, there will be consequences if I say this, do this. One who has the habit of seeing fear in faults of the minutest measure, of such kind of unintentional contravening of a minor training rule of the Pratimoksha, this is the monastic vows of a novice all the way to bhikkhus, or arising of the unprofitable thoughts. He trains himself by undertaking the precepts of training. Whatever there is among the precepts of training to be trained, and all that he trains by taking it up rightly. And here, as far as words, one restrained by Patimoksha restraint, virtue of, one restrained by Patimoksha restraint really refers to the, what do you call, thou shalt not, what I call prohibited precepts. Virtue of Patimoksha restraint shown by discourse in terms of persons, but all the beginning with the words possess of proper conduct and resort should be understood as said in order to show the way of practice that perfects the virtue in him who so practices it. 53. Now, as regards the virtue of restraint of faculties, virtue of restraint of faculties sometimes called sense restraint. That's what it is really. Regarding the restraint of sense faculties, shown next to that in the way of beginning, on seeing a visible object with eye, herein he is a bhikkhu established in the virtue of Patimoksha restraint. On seeing a visible object with the eye, conscious that is capable of seeing visible object and has borrowed the name eye from its instrument. So you should almost ask, can I borrow the eye to have a look at that? But the ancient Purana is Pali's Purana, is still Purana. But the ancient said, the eyes does not see a visible object because it has no mind. So that's right. If you restrain your eye sense consciousness, eyeball doesn't see anything. So the mind does not see because it has no eyes. So they separate the mind from the eyeball, and then therefore there's no eye consciousness. But when there is the impingement of door and the object, he sees by means of consciousness that has the eye sensitivity as its physical basis. Now, an idiom such as this is called accessory locution, like he shot him with his bow and so on, because you can't shoot somebody with bow, which means like that. Eyeball can't shoot to the object. I can't look at the object. It only can shoot with eye consciousness. So the bow can't shoot the object with an arrow. So they're likening the bow with eyeball and the arrow with eye consciousness. So if you don't lend eye consciousness, eyeball doesn't see. So it means if you restrain the sense organ, the eyeball, even though you are in front of someone or near somebody, because your mind is not losing to the eyeball to look at the object, so therefore the eyeball will not see. That's why in the Heart Sutra they say there's no eye consciousness, there's no sense object. So these ideas are all very, very congruent with each other, So to say that the emptiness teaching was only elaborated in Mahayana teachings, and as Theravadin doesn't have, is a bit of a to not quite right, So the meaning here is on seeing a visible object with eye consciousness. Yeah, visible object is not visible to the eyeball. If that is so, then the blind would see. It's not that he lacks eyeball. He lacks eye consciousness. So basically, those who restrain the eyes basically downcast the eyes and don't look at objects improperly. And they say, Shantideva says, at that point, may I behave like a new bride. New bride is hiding her eye, making contact with anybody. So Shantideva is basically, the idea is right in the sutras. Number 54, apprehend neither the signs. He does not apprehend the signs of a woman or a man, or any sign that is a basis of defilements, such as sign of beauty, etc. He stops what is merely seen. Nor the particulars. He does not apprehend any aspect class as hand, foot, smile, laughter, talk, looking ahead, looking aside, etc., which has acquired the name particular because of the particularizing defilements, because of the making them manifest themselves. You know, when those people do the catwalks, what are they trying to do? When they're doing the catwalk and all those people going there taking photos, they're exactly doing this exactly opposite. What are they trying to get themselves hooked by smallest movements, smallest, and they don't wear nothing. And deliberately trying to show the skin and flesh. I couldn't believe why the world has to spend all that effort to do that. He only apprehends what's really there, like Elder Mahatissa who dwelt at Chetiyapabada. 55. It seems that as the elders was on his way to Chetiyapabada, Chetiyapabada means Parvata is mountain, name of a mountain, to Aniruddhapura, Anuradhapura. This also looks like down in there's these places are named, and names of this place exist in Sri Lanka, very famous. Anuradhapura, for alms, a certain daughter-in-law of a clan who had quarreled with her husband had set out early from Anuradhapura, all dressed up and tricked out like a celestial nymph to go to her relative's home, saw him on the road, and being low-minded, she laughed aloud, wondering what is that. The elder looked up, and finding in the bones of her teeth the perception of foulness, of ugliness, he reached Arathut. Great, amazing. See, you never know. Sometimes you look at an object, you may attain Arathut. Sometimes you look at an object, you get hooked. So depending to how restrained you are or how loose you are. Hence it was said, he saw the bones that were her teeth. He kept in his mind his first perception, and standing on that very spot, the elder became an arhat. So see, your mind is in the right space. Even seeing somebody try to show off, going to a catwalk, you can get enlightenment. So maybe we shouldn't discourage people to going to a catwalk if they have the right sense restraint. What do you think? And share the photos of bones. Share the photos of bones to others. But her husband, who was going after her, saw the elder and asked, "Venerable sir, did you by any chance see a woman?" The elder told him, "Whether it was a man or woman, they went by, I noticed not." But only that on the high road there goes a group of bones. So that was the seeing of the see. That was the same also when the Buddha, after he come back from the four sightings of old age, sickness, and death, and the monastic. When he came home, all the heavenly palace goddesses or whatever you call them, they all look like walking skeletons. He couldn't see anybody, male or female. They all look like walking skeletons. So this is what this is talking about: pure perception or renunciate's perception. Vajrayanis would try to see them as Taras and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, perhaps. So it's possible, yeah? It's when we train a pure perception, yeah, you can see them like that. But if you look at it from the renunciate point of view, then that's what you will see. But yeah, perception is determined by the thought kind of consciousness that you lend your mind to the sense organs. As the words through which, etc., the meaning is, by reason of which, because of which, non-restraint of the eye faculty, if that is the person, left the eye faculty unguarded, unlike the Venerable Tissa, remain the eye door unclosed by the door panel of mindfulness. See, amazing. The Vajrayana uses this door panel mindfulness in the celestial doors. Vajrayana uses all the doors, 4 doors of the palace as the 4 doors of mindfulness. So they use the panels of the doors. Incredible. Door panel of mindfulness, those states of covetousness, etc., might invade, might pursue, might threaten him. He enters upon the way of its restraint. He enters upon the way of closing that eye faculty by the door panel of mindfulness. Is the same one of whom it is said he guards the eye faculty, undertakes the restraint of the eye faculty. 57. Herein, there is neither restraint nor non-restraint in the actual eye faculty, since neither mindfulness nor forgetfulness arises in dependence on eye sensitivity. On the contrary, when a visible datum as object comes into the eye focus, then after the life continuum has risen twice and ceased, the functional mind element accomplishing the function of averting arises and ceases. After that, eye consciousness with the function of seeing. After that, a resultant mind element with the function of receiving. After that, resultant root causeless mind consciousness element with the function of investigating. After that, functional root causeless mind consciousness element accomplishing the function of determining arises and ceases. Next to that, the impulsion impels. Herein, there is neither restraint nor non-restraint on the occasion of life continuum, or any one of the occasions beginning with adverting. But there is non-restraint if non-virtuousness or forgetfulness or unknowing or impatience or idleness arises at the moment of impulsion. When this happens, it is called non-restraint in the eye faculty. Why is that? Because when this happens, the door is not guarded, nor are the life continuum and the consciousness of the cognitive series, like that. Just as when the city's 4 gates are not secured, although inside the city house doors, storehouses, rooms, etc. are secured, yet all property inside the city is unguarded and unprotected. Since robbers coming in by the city gates can do as they please, so too when unvirtuousness, etc. rise in impulsion in which there is no restraint, then the door too is unguarded. And so also are the life continuum and the consciousness of the cognitive series beginning with adverting. But when virtue, etc. has arisen in it, then the door too is guarded, and so also are the life continuum and the consciousness of the cognitive arise beginning with adverting. Like what? Just as when the city gates are secured, although inside the city of the houses, etc. are not secured, yet all property inside the city is well guarded, well protected. Since when the city gates are shut, there is no ingress or for robbers. So for two, when virtue, etc. have arisen in impulsion, the door too is guarded, and so also are life continuum and the consciousness of the cognitive series beginning with adverting. Thus, although it actually arises at the moment of impulsion, it is nevertheless called restraint in the eye faculty. 59. So also as regards the phrases on hearing the sound with the ear and so on. So it is this virtue which in brief has the characteristic of avoiding apprehension of signs, entailing defilements with respect to visible object, etc., that should be understood as virtue of restraint of faculties. 60. Now, as regards the virtue of livelihood, purification mentioned above next to the virtue of restraint of the faculties, the words of the six precepts announced on account of livelihood mean, of the following 6 training precepts announced thus: with livelihood as a cause, with livelihood as reason, one of evil wishes, a prey to wishes, lays claim to a higher than human state that is non-existent, not a fact. The contravention of which is defeat. Defeat in the monastic sense is expulsion from the order when they transgress the 4 any of the four main vows. With livelihood as cause, with livelihood as a reason, he acts as go-between, the contravention of which is an offense entailing meeting of the order. With livelihood as cause, with livelihood as reason, he says, a bhikkhu who lives in your monastery is an arhat, the contravention of which is a serious offense in one who is aware of it. With livelihood as cause, with livelihood as reason, a bhikkhu who is not sick eats superior food as he and that he has order from his own use, the contravention of which is an offense requiring expiation. With livelihood as a cause, with livelihood as reason, a bhikkhuni who is not sick eats superior food that she gets order for her own use, the contravention of which is an offense requiring confession. With livelihood as cause, requiring as a confession is usually they have to do the fortnightly confession. They are then, when you do the fortnightly confession, small contraventions like eating food that you're not meant to have, luxurious food, even though you ate it, you can purify that within the 14-day fortnightly confession the monastic observe. With livelihood as cause, with livelihood as reason, one who is not sick eats curry or boiled rice that he has ordered for his own use, the contravention of which is an offense of wrongdoing of the 6 precepts. See, this is a very strict Theravadin ritual or rituals that they don't actually cook for themselves. They actually only receive whatever people cooked, whether with ghee or without ghee. so it's going this is very strict monastic vows of Theravada tradition. 61. As regards scheming, etc., this is the text. Herein, what is scheming? It is the grimacery, scheming, schemedness by what is called rejection of requisites or by indirect talk. It's just like looking at food and then saying, this is dal, ooh, just dal and rice. Yes, people passing negative remark about how poor the food is. There's no choice. just a runny soup. That sort of thing. What is called rejection of requisites by indirect talk, or it is composing of the deportment on the part of one bent on gain, honor, and renown, or one of evil wishes, a prey to wishes. This is called scheming. 62. Herein, what is talking? Talking at others, talking around, talking up, continual talking up, persuading, continual persuading, suggesting, continual suggesting, ingratiating chatter, flattery, being sopery, fondling on part of one bent on gain, honor, and renown of one of the evil wishes, a prey to wishes. This is called talking. 63. Herein, what is hinting? A sign to others, giving a sign, indication, giving indication, indirect talk, roundabout talk on the part of one bent on gain, honor, and renown, of one of evil wishes, a prey to wishes. This is called hinting. 64. Herein, what is belittling? Abusing of others, disparaging, reproaching, snubbing, continual snubbing, ridicule, a continual ridicule, denigration, continual denigration, tale-bearing, backbiting on the part of one bent on gain, honor, and renown, of one of evil wishes, a prey to wishes. This is called belittling. You can see this is what it's called Shastra. Shastra is commentary. So it's really commentating what is belittling. Yeah? 65, because that's what Buddhagosha is doing. Buddhagosha is not writing anything new. He's explaining the root words, like what is belittling. Here, what is pursuing gain with gain? Yeah. Seeking gain, seeking for, seeking out, going in search of, searching out material goods by means of material goods, such as carrying their goods that one have been got from here, or carrying here goods that have been got from there, by one bent on gain, honor, or renown, by one of evil wishes, a prey to wishes. This is called pursuing gain with gain. So this is talking about intention. why people sometimes want to swap. 66. The meaning of this text should be understood as follows. Firstly, as regards description of scheming, on the part of one bent on gain, honor, and renown, is one part of one who is bent on gain or honor, and on reputation. On the part of one longs for them is the meaning. Meaning of scheming. Or one of evil wishes, or one who wants to show qualities that he has not got, are prey to wishes, the meaning of one who is attacked by them. And after this passage, beginning or by what is called rejection of requisites, is given in order to show the three instances of scheming, giving in the Mahanidesha as rejection of requisites, indirect talk, and that are based on deportment. 67. Herein a bhikkhu is invited to accept robes, etc., and precisely because he wants them, he refused them out of evil wishes. And then, since he knows that those householders believe in him implicitly when they think, oh, how few are our Lord's wishes, he will not accept a thing. And they put fine robes, etc., because before him, by various means, he then accepts making sure that he wants to be compassionate to them. It is this hypocrisy of his. He becomes the cause of their subsequently bringing them even by cartloads that should be understood as the instance of scheming called rejection of requisites. 68. For this is said in the Mahanidesha. What is the instance of scheming called rejection of requisites? Here, householders invite bhikkhus to accept robes, alms, food, resting place, and the requisites of medicine as cure for the sick. One who is of evil wishes are prey to wishes, wanting robes, alms, food, resting place, the requisites of medicine as cure for the sick, refuses robe, alms, food, resting place, the requisites of medicine as cure for the sick because he wants more. He says, what has an ascetic to do with the expensive robes? It is proper for an ascetic to gather rags from a charnel ground or from a rubbish heap or from a shop and make them into patchwork cloth to wear. What has an ascetic to do with expensive alms food? It is proper for an ascetic to get his living by dropping of lumps of food into his bowls while he wanders for gleanings. What has an ascetic to do with an expensive resting place? It is proper for an ascetic to be a tree root dweller or an open air dweller. What has an ascetic to do with an expensive requisite medicine to cure for the sick? It is proper for an ascetic to cure himself with putrid urine and broken gallnuts. Accordingly, he wears a coarse robe, eats coarse alms food, uses coarse resting place, uses coarse requisites of medicine as a cure for the sick. Then householder think, this ascetic has few wishes, is content, is secluded, keeps aloof from company, is strenuous, is a preacher of asceticism, and they invite him for more and more, accept robes, alms, food, resting places, and requisites of medicine as cure for the sick. He says, with three things present, a faithful clansman produces much merit, and with faith present, faithful clansman produces much merit. With goods to be given present, a faithful clansman produces much merit. With those worthy to receive present, a faithful clansman produces much merit. You have faith, the good ones to be given here more, and I'm here to accept. If I do not accept, then you will be deprived of merit. That is no good to me. Rather, I accept out of compassion for you. Accordingly, he accepts many robes, he accepts much alms food, he accepts many resting places, he accepts many requisites of medicine as cure for the sick. Such grimacery, schemery, and schemedness is known as an instance of scheming called rejection of requisites. This he's giving commentary on Nidesha in that paragraph 224 and 225. 69. It is hypocrisy on the part of one of evil wishes who gives it to be understood verbally by some way or other that he is tainted or higher than human state, that should be understood as the instance of scheming called indirect talk, according as it is said, what is the instance of scheming called indirect talk? Here someone of evil wishes are prey to wishes, eager to be admired, thinking the people will admire me, speaks words about the noble state. He says, he who wears such a robe is very important ascetic. He says that he who carries a ball, metal cup, water filler, water strainer, key, wears such a waistband, sandals is a very important ascetic. He says, he who has such a preceptor, teacher, who has the same preceptor, who has the same teacher, who has such a friend, associate, intimate companion, he who lives in such a monastery, lean-to, mansion, villa, cave, grotto, hut, pavilion, watchtower, hall, barn, meeting hall, room, at such a tree root is very important ascetic. All alternatively, all gushing, all grimacing, all skimming, all talkative, with an expression of admiration, he utters such a deep, mysterious, cunning, obscure, supermundane talk, suggestive of voidness, as the ascetic is an obtainer of peace, abiding attainments such as these. Such grimacing, grimacery, skimming, scammery, skimmedness is known as the instance of skimming called indirect talk. It is, number 70, it is hypocrisy on the part of one of the evil wishes, which takes the form of deportment influenced by eagerness to be admired, that should be understood as the instance of scheming dependent on deportment, according to as it is said. What is the instance of scheming called deportment? Here someone of evil wishes are prey to wishes, eager to be admired, thinking, thus people will admire me, composes his way of walking, composes his way of lying down, he walks steadily, stands steadily, sits steadily, lies down steadily. He walks as though concentrated, stands, sits, lies down as though concentrated, and he is one who mediates in public. Such disposing, posing, composing of deportment, grimacing, grimacery, scheming, skimmery, skimmedness is known as instant scheming called deportment. So this, I think, it's even though it's not explicit, it's talking about intention. Because while it says you should be mindful to walk, and know where to lie down, when to lie, when to not lie down, it's talking about whether the person's intention is showing off as if he is a very, very more disciplined than he actually is. His intention is to attract, he's scheming. He's scheming how devoted people should be towards him. So it's very important to know that sometimes the teachings are not implicit or explicit. This one is explicitly talking about outer behaviors, but it's not talking about the intention. So in Mahayana teachings, they always talk about intention. You see, in Theravadin texts, it's always talk about outer appearances. But you can really see between the lines that intention of the person is the one that is causing this, is doing those things is wrongly, scheming, Number 71, here in the words, by what it is called rejection of requisites mean, by what is called thus rejection requisite, or they mean, by means of rejection of requisites, that is so called by indirect talk, means by talking near to the subject of deportment, means of the four abodes of deportment, postures. Disposing is initial posing or careful posing. Posing is manner of posing. Composing is pre-arranging. The Lojong monk, when he was sitting in the home and when he knew that his benefactor was coming, he tidied up his room. He arranged all the shrine much nicer than he normally keeps. Then he sets in readiness to arrival. Just before they came, he thought, "Oh, this is ridiculous. I'm just trying to show off how good a practitioner I am. This is not good." So he just tear it down. because he didn't get impressed by what he was scheming, what he's planning. So I think these are all really talking about posing and in the manner of posing, and composing and as pre-arranging. He's not naturally like that, but he deliberately want to impress people. Because they're coming or something. Assuming a trust-inspiring attitude is what is meant. Grimacing is making grimaces by showing great intenseness. Facial contraction is what is meant. One who has the habit of making grimaces is a grimacer. Grimacer's state is grimacery. Scheming is hypocrisy. The way of a schemer is schemery. The state is what is called schemedness. Schemed is schemedness. 72. In the description of talking is talking thus on seeing people coming to the monastery. What have you come for, good people? What to invite bhikkhus? If that is, then go along, and I shall come later with my bowl, or etc. Or alternately, talking by advertising oneself. Thus, I'm Tissa, the king, trust me. Such and such king's minister, trust me. Talking is the same kind of talking on being asked a question. Talking around is roundly talking by one who is afraid of householders' displeasure because he has given occasion for it. Talking up is talking by extolling people thus. He's a great landowner, he's a great ship owner, great lord of giving. Continual talking is talking by extolling people in all ways. So this is all talking about the manner how one's speaking is going against the what a renunciate who's not there to pose things to in the eyes of the devotee. 73. Persuading is progressively involving people. Thus, lay followers, formerly you used to give first fruit alms at such a time. Why do you not do so now? Until they say, we shall give, Venerable Sir, we have had no opportunity, etc. Entangling is what is meant. Or alternatively, seeing someone with a sugar cane in his hand, he asks, where are you coming from, lay follower? From the sugarcane field, Venerable Sir. Is the sugarcane sweet there? One can find out by eating, Venerable Sir. It is not allowed, lay follower, for bhikkhu to say, give me some sugarcane. Such entangling talk from such an entangler is persuading. Persuading again and again and always is continual persuading. So basically one is not allowed to persuade to give. Persuade to give, it's very hard. I don't know how you go begging. Maybe you should not knock the door. You should just wait out in the back of the house. So sometimes it's really hard, So their mothers become bones, Suggesting is insinuating by specifying thus, that family alone understand me. If there's anything to be given there, they give it to me only. Pointing to is what it meant. And here the story of oil seller should be told, suggesting in all ways, again and again, continual suggestion. So the oil teller story is in footnote. I think I'll read it. The story of oil seller is given in the Samoha Vinodan, which reproduces a part of wisdom with some addition. Two bhikkhus, it seems, went into a village and sat down in the sitting hall. Seeing a girl, they called her. Then one asked the other, whose girl is this, Venerable Sir? She's the daughter of our supporter, oil seller, friend. When we go to her mother's house, she gives us ghee. She gives it in the pot. And this girl too gives it to the pot in a mother does. So that's the story. Interesting, yeah? Mm. Mm. Pointing, hinting, really, basically hinting they're talking about. So that's the suggesting in all ways, again and again, in continual suggestion. 75. Ingratiating chatter is endearing chatter repeated again and again without regard to whether it is in conformity with truth and Dharma. Flattery is speaking humbly, always maintaining attitudes of inferiority. Bean soupery is resemblance to bean soup, for just as when beans are being cooked, only when few do not get cooked, the rest get cooked. So to the person in whose speech only a little is true, rest are false. It's called bean soup. His state is called bean soupery. I don't know whether use the bean soupery. Bean soupery. Number 76. Fondling is the state of an act of fondling when a man fondles the children on his lap or on his shoulder like a nurse. He nurses is the meaning. That fondler's act is act of fondling. The state of act of fondling is fondling. Of course, this doesn't have to be monastic. In our modern society, it would be completely unacceptable. They may call not fondling, they may call it all sorts of things. 77. The description of hinting a sign or nimitta in his bodily or verbal act that he gets others to give requisites. Giving a sign is making a sign such as, "What have you got to eat?" etc. On seeing people going along with food, indication is talk that alludes to requisite. Giving indication on seeing cowboys, he asks, "Are these milk cows calves or buttermilk cows calves?" When it is said they are milk cows calves, Venerable Sir, he remarks, "They are not milk cows calves. If they were milk cows calves, the bhikkhu would be getting milk," etc. And getting it to the knowledge of the boy's parents in this way, so making them give milk is giving indication. So basically, alms beggar should be not hinting, just that's called lungse. Tibetan word for lungse for the alms bowl is called lung, means fall, se means receive. Receive whatever falls in, without hinting or choosing or like that. I think so. These are really the serious vow of a monastic, very renunciate, who probably doesn't have any food intolerance. He just have desire intolerance. So he just, because he has desire intolerance, he just would receive anything, and I think he will put aside on the bowl, in the bowl, those he are intolerant maybe. These days people know about food so much. Oh, before you offer, they say what they can't have. You know about maybe you know about a hint that. These days, you have to send them the list what you can't have. Number 78. Indirect talk is talk that keeps near to the subject. And here there should be told the story of bhikkhu reportedly supported by a family. Bhikkhu, it seems, who was supported by a family, went into the house wanting to eat and sat down. The mistress of the house was unwilling to give. On seeing him, she said, "There is no rice." She went to a neighbor's house as though to get rice. The bhikshu went into the storeroom. Looking round, he saw sugar cane in the corner behind the door, sugar in the bowl, string of salt, fish in the basket, rice in the jar, and ghee in the pot. He came out and sat down. When the housewife came back, and she said, "I did not get any rice." The bhikshu said, "Lay follower, I saw a sign just now. The alms will not be easy to get today." "What, Venerable Sir?" "I saw a snake that was like sugar cane put in the corner behind the door. Looking for something to hit it with, I saw a stone like a lump of a sugar ball in a bowl. When the snake had hit with the cloth, it spread out a hood-like string of salt fish in a basket, and its teeth, as tried to bite a cloth, were like rice grains in a jar. Then the saliva mixed with poison that came out of its mouth in its fury, like ghee put into a pot." She thought, "There's no hoodwinking the shaveling." So she gave him a sugar cane, and she cooked the rice and gave it all to him with the ghee, sugar, and fish. Such talk that keeps near the subject should be understood as indirect talk. Roundabout talk is talking round and round the subject as much as it is allowed. Number 80. In the description of belittling, abusing is abusing by means of 10 instances of abuse that are listed in the footnotes, actually. The 10 instant abuse is, first one is, you are a thief, you are a fool, you are an idiot, you are a camel, and I think, and you are an ox, you are a donkey. So it's name calling. That's all that. That's the older name calling. It's called 10 instances of abuse. Disparaging is contemptuous talk. Reproaching is enumeration of faults, such as he's faithless, he's not a believer. Snubbing is taking up verbally, thus, don't say that here. Snubbing and always giving grounds and reasons is continual snubbing. Or alternatively, when someone does not give, taking him up, thus, oh, the prince of givers is snubbing, and the thorough snubbing, thus, the mighty prince of givers is continual snubbing. Ridicule is making fun of someone, thus, what sort of life has this man who eats his seed grain? The continual ridicule is making fun of him more thoroughly, thus, what you say, this man is not a giver who always wishes the words. There is nothing to everyone. 81. Denigration. Denigration is denigrating someone by saying that he's not a giver or by censuring him. All round denigration is continual denigration. Tale-bearing is bearing tales from house to house, from village to village, from district to district, thinking so they will give to me out of fear of my bearing tales. Backbiting is speaking censoriously behind another's back after speaking kindly to his face, for this is like biting the flesh of another's back. When he is not looking on the part of one who is unable to look him in the face, therefore it's called backbiting. This is called belittling because it scrapes off, wipes off the virtuous qualities of others as a bamboo scraper does incongruent or uncongruent, or because it is pursuit of gain by grinding and pulverizing others' virtuous quality, like the pursuits of perfume by grinding perfumed substances, that is called belittling. This looks like a dictionary. Looks like a very good dictionary, don't you think? Dictionary wouldn't explain this well. And the description of pursuing gain with gain. Pursuing is hunting after. God from here is God from this house. There is into that house. Seeking is wanting. Seeking for is hunting after. Seeking out is hunting after gain again and again. The story of Bhikshu who went around giving away the alms he had got at first to children or families here and there, and in the end got milk and gruel should be told here. I don't know that. So there's, it's not in the footnotes. Searching, etc., synonymous for seeking, etc. And so the construction here should be understood thus: going in search of is seeking, searching for is seeking for, searching out is seeking out. This is the meaning of scheming and so on. Now, 83. Now, as regards the words evil states beginning with, here the words beginning with should be understood to include the many evil states given in the Brahmajala Sutra in the way beginning. So Brahmajala Sutra is a very famous one. So that's why always the Buddhagosha is always talking about sutras, you know, very, very reliable. Or just as some worthy ascetics, while eating the food given by the faithful, making a living by wrong livelihood, by such low arts as these, that is to say, by palmistry, by fortune-telling, by divining omens, by interpreting dreams, marks on the body, holes gnawed by mice, by fire sacrifice, or by spoon oblation. Yeah, this is why the Theravadins would not teach teachings. People who lean on these kind of teachings would not resort to palmistry, fortune telling, doing divination, interpreting dreams, or reading body features, facial features. Lots of people do facial readings and so on, and various other spoon oblation, meaning pouring water. There's a lot of rituals like that in Hindu tradition and also Tibetan Buddhist tradition. I think the motivation is good, then I don't think it's the problem. But spoon oblation means people are pouring many drops of water from one jar to something and counting names and doing that sort of thing. So there are such rituals, actually, fire pujas and filling hot water bowls. All these things exist, but if they're doing for the sake of something, scheming, then it's that's why rituals are often not sort of looked very well by the Theravadins. So this wrong livelihood entails the transgression of those 6 training precepts announced on account of livelihood, and entails the evil states beginning with scheming, talking, hinting, belittling, pursuing again. And so it is the abstinence from all sorts of wrong livelihood that is virtue of livelihood's purification, the word meaning of which is this: on account of thy live, thus it is livelihood. What is that? It is the effort consisting of search for requisites. Purification is purifiedness. Livelihood purification is purification of livelihood. 85. As regards the next kind called virtue concerning requisites, here is the text. Reflecting wisely, he uses the rope only for protection from cold, for protection from heat, for protection from contact with gadflies, wind, burning and creeping things, and only for the purpose of concealing the private parts. Reflecting wisely, he uses alms food neither for amusement, nor for intoxication, nor for smartening, nor for embellishment. That's why Nagarjuna's text called Letter to a Friend says, knowing the food as medicine, I'm not eating this to look myself smart or well-fed or look physically very attractive, to make me look elegant. I'm simply to eat this to sustain this body so that I can practice Dharma. So these are really, the idea is exactly the same, but only for the endurance and continuance of the body, see? So you see, people like Shantideva or Nagarjuna read these kind of sutras and then write their nice versified writings, poems. The ideas are all original sutras and original, sometimes they actually quote. Sometimes they quote from which sutra they came. So you can see, indeed, so one should eat even when we say grace, even though we have chosen the food we want to eat and we don't want to eat anything that nobody wants, but still the attitude with which one eats should be like that, That's why we say the grace, Grace isn't an offering to the Buddha. Buddha doesn't eat your food. No matter what you offer, he's beyond eating. He doesn't need anyone's food. But we offer food so that we learn to purify and improve our intention while we eat. So while we may eat nutritious food that is not harmful to our certain body, but if one is deliberately eating to look oneself, to smarten oneself, or embellish one's appearance, and if that is the case, then it's for the monastic point of view, it's not quite right. For the ending of discomfort, for the assisting of life of purity. Thus I shall put a stop to all feelings and shall not arouse new feelings, and shall be healthy and blameless and live in comfort. Reflecting wisely, he uses resting place only for the purpose of protecting from cold, for protecting from heat, for protection from contact with the gadflies, wind, burning, creeping things, and only for the purpose of warding off the perils of climate enjoyment and enjoying retreat. Reflecting wisely, he uses requisites of medicine as cure for the sick only for protection arisen from hurtful feelings or for complete immunity from affliction. Here in reflecting wisely is reflecting as a means and as the way, by knowing, by reviewing, is the meaning. And here it is the review stated in the way beginning, for protection from cold. That should be understood as reflecting wisely. 86. When the robe is one of those beginning with inner cloth. He employs dresses as inner cloth. He puts on as upper garment. Only is a phrase signifying invariability in the definition of a limit, of a purpose. The purpose in the meditator's making use of the robes in that much only, namely protection from cold, etc. Not more than that. When people are wearing the things to match, the top with the pants with the shoes, that's not from cold, It's from something else. I have no idea. I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know what goes with what. Some people really don't know how to choose clothing, I'm told. I'm the worst. I'm wearing too bright. Too bright, too not matching something. My daughter told me the other day, "Dad, why are you wearing that?" She thought I was in drags or something. And from any kind of cold arisen neither through disturbance of elements internally or through change in temperature externally. For protection, for the purpose of warding off, for the purpose of eliminating it, so that it may arouse affliction in the body. For when the body is afflicted by cold, the distracted mind cannot be wisely exerted. That is why the Blessed One permitted the robe to be used for protection from cold. Because otherwise the Buddhists are very not so dissimilar from the Jains, because Jains didn't want to wear anything, Jains are completely naked, completely naked. He just recently, the head of the Jain participated in a heads of all religious tradition in a big place. He was there completely naked, Completely naked, And he's completely at ease with it. But there was I was looking at it because His Holiness Dalai Lama openly in front of everybody praise him, He says he get really inspired by someone who's completely renounced everything, no matter whether it's summer or cold or wherever. He never wears. He's not even wanting to wear things to protect from cold. He's completely naked. And he was really sitting there, but then the meeting was held in a big 5-star hotel, So he's sitting on a fairly comfortable chair. He probably never used to sit on. Then they were doing Indian anthem. Then they all had to get up, And then he didn't get up. So he thought maybe he shouldn't get up because he looks too odd, naked and showing his private parts or something. So he still had some kind of sense of me, but generally complete renunciate. He's all the time like that. And he's always accompanied by half a dozen disciples of his, They're all wearing clothes, but he's completely renunciated. So he doesn't even wear to protect from cold. So His Holiness Dalai Lama really saying that these are the real renunciates, those who really understand. So we don't have to always put up Buddhism, There are lots of Indian religious traditions and other religions who have actually who do practice hermit-like life. their devotion to God or Brahma or Shiva or whatever it is. The body is afflicted by cold, distracted mind cannot be easily exerted. Yeah, but these monastics, these ascetics can. They are not afflicted by cold. They withstand cold. That is why the Blessed One permitted the robe to be used for the protection of cold, because most people are in Tibet, because we wear yak wools or sheep clothes, sheep skin. Otherwise, we couldn't. We go frozen. They show off that some people can make ice melt through tumor or something. I don't see that happening. Most monastics, they are not able. That's why. So in each instance, except from heat, means from the heat of fire, because they only talk about protecting from cold, which is only case in India. In India, they never talk about heat. People probably prefer to wear nothing, because in so hot you don't want to wear anything really. The origin of which should be understood as forest fires and so on. So this is talking about really those incredible ascetics. That's why the Buddhism was definitely a monastic, mainly for monastics. That's why if the monasticism continues, then Buddhism flourishes. When Buddhism spread to countries like Tibet and China and things like that, they totally had to reinterpret the teachings. They can't read texts like this and interpret everything literally and expect all the monastic to wear almost just small clothing, and not at all. People will just freeze to death. 87. From contact with gadflies, flies, wind and burning and creeping things. Here, gadflies are flies that bite, that are called blind flies. Flies are just flies. Wind is distinguished as that with dust and that without dust. Burning is burning of the sun. Creeping things are any long creatures such as snakes and so on that move by crawling. Contact with them is of two kinds. Contact by being beaten and contact by being touched, and that does not worry him who sits with a robe on. So he uses it for the purpose of protection from such things. His Holiness Dalai Lama talks about when the mosquito bites for a couple of minutes, he let them bite, And after they have put in so much, they're so blown up by blood, then he had to make sure they go away or something, So even though some monastics don't want to use, like His Eminence Chogi Teaching Rinpoche's sister, the nun, and we always try to, if we can afford anyway, can buy those coils, mosquito coils. In India, you have to have, otherwise it's just difficult. You basically burn them. And when it became available, she refused to burn. She said, no mosquito bite me. Even if they bite, I let them. She's amazing. She's a very strong nun, Incredible. She says, no, they don't come in my room. She just tells us, say, what's wrong with you guys? You guys must be smelly. Only the word is repeated in order to define subdivision of the invariable purpose for the concealment of the private parts in an invariable purpose. Others are purposes periodically. Here in private parts and any parts of the pudendum. Pudendum. I've never heard this word. Have you know this word? Do you? Pudendum. Is it English or German? Pudendum. Well, Venerable Jnanamalika would know. For when a member is disclosed, conscience, hiri, is disturbed, offended. It is called private parts, because of the disturbance of the conscience. For the purpose of concealing the private parts, for the purpose of concealment of private parts, as well as reading, there is reading. 89, alms food. Alms food is any sort of food. For any sort of nutriment is called alms food, pindapata. lump dropping, lump dropping, because of its having been dropped. That's what we were saying in Tibetan. Lung, se, lung means dropped. Se means receive what is dropped. Into a bhikkhu's ball during the alms ball pindalaya, or alms ball, alms food is the dropping of the lumps. It is the occurrence, the collection of alms obtained here and there is what it meant. What is meant. Neither for amusements, neither for the purpose of amusements, as with village boys, etc., or for the sake of sport is what is meant. Not for intoxication, not for the purpose of intoxication, as with boxers, etc., for the sake of intoxication with strength and for the sake of intoxication with manhood is what's meant, nor for smartening, nor for purpose of smartening, as with royal concubines, courtesans, etc., for the sake of plumpness in all the limbs is what is meant, not for embellishment, not for the purpose of embellishment, as with actors, dancers, and maybe bodybuilders, for the sake of clean, maybe sumo wrestlers too, sumo wrestlers, for the sake of a clear skin and complexion is what is meant. Of course, no monastic will be involved as a sumo wrestler anyway. You can see these days lots of people doing just this. Incredible. These days, all the tattoo. What are people doing with tattoos? So I've seen some monks with a lot of tattoos. They probably have been tattooed before they became monastics. They were wondering whether they can remove the tattoos before they can be ordained, because when you have to go, you have to be bare shoulders, and so if you can't hide it, so they were a bit embarrassed whether the tattoos were not quite right. So it's like bit of a big question. Number 90, and here the clause neither for amusement is stated for the purpose of abandoning support for delusion, nor for intoxication said to for the purpose of abandoning support for hate, nor for smartening, nor for embellishment said for the purpose of abandoning support for greed. So it's all about desire, hatred, and ignorance. And neither for amusement nor for intoxication said to be for the purpose of preventing the arising of fetters for oneself. Nor for smartening, nor for embellishment is said for the purpose of preventing the arising of fetters for another. Fetters for another means trying to entice others, and abandoning of both unwise practice, devotion to indulgence of sense pleasure should be understood as stated by these four. Only has the meaning already stated. Of number 91, of this body. Of this material body is consisting of four great primaries: for endurance, for the purpose of continued endurance, and continuance, for the purpose of not interrupting life's continued occurrence, or for the purpose of enduring for a long time. He makes use of his arms for the purpose of endurance, for the purpose of continuance, of the body as the owner of an old house uses props for his house, and as a carter uses axle grease, nor for the purpose of amusement, intoxication, smarting, and embellishment. Furthermore, endurance is a term for the life faculty. So what has been said as far as words for endurance and continuance of the body can be understood to mean for the purpose of maintaining the occurrence of the life faculty of this body. You can see how fewness of the sanghas who are ordained, who can live life, because of this, these things are usually very few people. Most people, as soon as they have a little problem with the body, they will straight away cringe and they would not do it. That's why you can see the number of monastics, even in the very traditional countries like Theravada countries, is very, very few. And even though they may observe these vows, but they only observe this only for a couple of months, couple of weeks, and after that they have no interest to become. So that's why they have to introduce temporary ordination. Does that suggest that life of those teachings will not last long? Because if people have to live either by this or not at all. So you can see why around 2nd century there came a huge body of people where the vows need to be little bit to be adaptation, and that's why the Mahayana teaching definitely came as a result of how many people can take this. So this kind of a monastic only kind of path will have a very limited takers. And so that's why the various schools, as many as 18 Nikaya, probably broke as a result of whether or not able to live by these kind of precepts. If not, then they are regarded as a bit of a failure. Others would see that a little bit of adaptation. So that's the reason of breaking of the Nikaya. Vinaya schools in 18 school probably would have come how many of these are observed, how many could be adapted if necessary or if allowed. 92. For the ending of discomfort, hunger is called discomfort in the sense of afflicting. He makes use of alms food for the purpose of ending hunger. Like anointing a wound, like counteracting heat with cold and so on, for assisting the life of purity, for the purpose of assisting the life purity consisting in the whole dispensation and life purity consisting in the path. For a while this bhikkhu is engaged in crossing the desert of existence by means of devotion to the 3 trainings, depending on bodily strength, whose necessary condition is use of alms food. He makes use of it to assist the life of purity, just as those seeking to cross the desert use their child's flesh. I didn't know that. Just as those seeking to cross the river use a raft, just as those seeking to cross the ocean uses a ship. Yeah, so this using a child's flesh is an allusion to a story of a couple who sets out to cross the desert with an insufficient food supply, but go to the other side by eating the flesh of their own child who died on the way. The derivation of PED, a metaphor probably distorted from Puttamamsa, has no justification. The reference to Raf might be to D289. So that's to do with those who. There are stories of prisoners eating flesh of dead fellow prisoners too. So that's quite different, yeah? Just as those seeking to cross river use raft, just as those seeking to cross the ocean use a ship. 93. Thus I shall put a stop to all feelings and shall not arouse feelings. Thus, as a sick man uses medicine, he uses alms food, thinking, by use of alms food, I shall put a stop to the all feeling of hunger. So this is talking about the intention, yeah. So food is only to stop the suffering of hunger. I shall not arouse a feeling of immoderate eating, like one of the proverbial Brahmins, that is one who eats till he has to be helped out by hand, or till his clothes will not meet, or till he rolls there on the ground, or till crows can peck on his mouth, or until he vomits what he has arisen. All alternatively, there is that which is called all feelings, because being conditioned by former karma, it arises now in dependence on unsuitable immoderating food. I shall put up a stop to all feeling, forestalling its condition by suitable moderate eating. And there is that which is called now new feeling, because it will arise in the future in dependence on the accumulation of karma, consisting in making improper use of the requisites of alms food. Now I shall not arouse that new feeling, avoiding any means of proper use of production of his roots. This is how the meaning should be understood here. What has been shown so far can be understood to include proper use of requisites, abandoning of devotion to self-mortification, and not giving up a lawful bliss pleasure. Number 94. And I shall be healthy. In this body which exists and depends on requisites, I shall, by moderating eating, have health called long endurance, since there will be no danger of severing the life faculty by interrupting the continuity of postures. Reflecting in this way, he makes use of alms food as the sufferer from chronic disease does of his medicine. That's exactly what Nagarjuna says. The food should be seen as a medicine for hunger. And blameless and live in comfort and have blamelessness and comfortable abiding. He makes use of them thinking, I shall have blamelessness by avoiding improper search, acceptance and eating, and I shall have comfortable abiding by moderate eating. Or he does so thinking, I shall have blamelessness due to the absence of any faults as boredom, sloth, sleepiness, blame by the wise, etc., that have unseemly, immoral eating as their condition, and I shall have a comfortable abiding by producing bodily strength that has seemly moderate eating as its condition. Or he does so thinking, I shall have blamelessness by abandoning the pleasure of lying down, lolling and torpor, through refraining from eating as much as possible the stuff, the belly, and I shall have a comfortable abiding by controlling the four postures through eating. Four postures means sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. Through eating 4 or 5 mouthfuls less than a maximum. For this is said, with 4 or 5 lumps still to eat, let him then end by drinking water. For energetic bhikkhus needs, this should suffice to live with comfort. Yeah, some take only 4 mouthfuls, 5 mouthfuls. Sometimes even 1 mouthful makes a huge difference. So trying to eat so much at one time is not they usually say the one helping. It's only one helping. they say one helpers. People shouldn't have more than one helpings. That's the monastics we're talking about. Now, what has been shown at this point can be understood as discernment of purpose and practice of the middle way. Yeah, it's all about middle way, the practice of the middle way. Resting place, this is bed and seat. For wherever one sleeps, whether it is a monastery or in a lean-to, etc., that is a bed. Wherever one sits, oneself, asati sits, that is the seat. Both together, they are called resting place, abode. Abode means there where you reside. For the purpose of warding off the perils of climate, enjoying retreat. The climate itself is the sense of imperiling, is perils of climate. Unsuitable climatic conditions that cause mental distraction due to bodily affliction can be warded off by making use of resting place. It is the purpose of warding off these, and for the purpose of pleasure of solitude is what is meant. Of course, the warding off of the perils of climate is stated by the phrase protection from cold, etc. too. But just in the case of making use of robes, the concealment of private parts is stated as an invariable purpose, while the others are periodical purposes. So here also these last should be understood as mentioned with reference to the invariable warding off of the perils of climate. Or alternatively, this climate of the kind stated is just climate, but perils are of 2 kinds, evident perils and concealed perils. Herein, evident perils are lions, tigers, etc., while concealed perils are greed, hate, and so on. When a bhikkhu knows and reflects thus in making use of the kind of resting place where these perils do not, owing to unguarded doors or sight of unsuitable visible object, cause affliction, he can be understood as one who, reflecting wisely, make use of resting place for the purpose of warding off the perils of climate. The requisites, 96, the requisites of medicine as cure for the sick. Here, cure is in the sense of going against illness, in the sense of countering is the meaning. This is a term for any suitable remedy. It is the medical man's work because it is permitted by him, thus it is medicine. Beshaja. See, the word is beshaja. Even in Pali, there's a beshaja. They don't call bekhaja. For the cure For the cure for the sick itself as a medicine is medicine as a cure for the sick. Any work of a medicine man, such as oil, honey, ghee, etc., that is suitable for one who is sick, is what is meant. A requisite, however, is in such passages as it is well supplied with the requisites is of a city, is equipment in such passages. The chariot has the requisites of virtue, the axle of jnana, the wheel of energy. It is an ornament. In such passages, the requisites of life is one who has gone into homelessness that should be available. It is an accessory. But here both equipment and accessory are applicable. But that medicine as a cure for the sick is equipment for maintaining life because it protects by preventing the arising of affliction destructive to life, and is an accessory too because it is an instrument for prolonging life. That is why it's called requisites. So it is a medicine for the cure, a cure for the sick, and that is a requisite, that is requisite medicine as a cure for the sick. He makes use of that requisite medicine as a cure for the sick. Any requisite for life consisting of oil, honey, ghee, molasses, etc., that is allowed by a medicine man for the suitable for the sick is what it is meant. 97. From arisen, from born become produce, hurtful here, hurt, affliction is disturbance of elements, and that it is epilepsy, tumors, boils, etc., originated by that disturbance. Hurtful because arisen in the form of hurt. Feeling, painful feeling resulting from unprofitable karma from those hurtful feelings. For complete immunity from affliction, for complete freedom from pain, so that all is painful is abandoned, is the meaning. This is how this virtue concerning requisite should be understood. In brief, it is a characteristic. Its characteristic is the use of requisites after wise reflection. Word meaning here is this: because breathing things go, ayanti, move, proceed, using what they use, independent on these robes, etc. These robes, etc., are therefore called requisites. Concerning requisites is concerning those requisites. 98. So, in this fourfold virtue, Pratimoksha restraint has to be undertaken by means of faith. For that is accomplished by faith, since the announcing of training precepts is outside the disciple's province, and the evidence here is the refusal of the request to allow disciple to announce training precepts. Having therefore undertaken through faith the training precept within exception has announced, one should completely perfect them without regard for life. For it is said, as a hen guards her eggs, or as a yak her tail, or like a darling child, or like an only eye, so you who are engaged your virtue to protect by prudence at all times and ever scrupulous. This is often they mention about the because or as a yak her tail, you can see the yaks are always they're always moving because flies come on some parts of the body and they uses the yak tail to protect themselves. So it's talking about not letting any flies to bite because the only her tail can do that. No parts of the body can do that. And for her, the existence of tail is very important. So therefore, they think the cutting animal's tail is very unkind, because the tail has many functions for the animal. I don't know why there's so many dogs' tails are cut. So they shouldn't. They have functional purposes. And also, it is said further. So too, sir, when a training precept for disciples announced by me, my disciple do not transgress it even for the sake of life. Number 19. And the story of elders bound by robbers in a forest should be understood in this sense. So the story goes here. It seems that robbers in the Mahavatani forest found an elder with the black creepers and made him lie down.
While he lay there for 7 days, he augmented his sight, and after reaching the fruition of non-returner, this is Arhathood, he died there and was reborn in the Brahma world. Also, they bound another elder, Tambapani, an island, Sri Lanka, with string creepers and made him lie down there. When a forest fire came on, the creepers were not cut. He established insight, attained nirvana simultaneously with his death. When the elder Abhaya, a preacher of the Digha Nikaya, this is the long version of Theravadin Sutras, Digha means long, passed by with 500 bhikkhus, he saw what has happened, and he had the elder's body cremated and a shrine built. Therefore, let other clansmen also maintain the rules of pure conduct, renouncing life if there be need, rather than break virtue's restraint by world savior favor decreed. Number 100, we'll stop after this. And the pratimoksha, restraint, is undertaken out of faith. So restraint of the sense faculty should be undertaken with mindfulness, for that is accomplished by mindfulness. Because when the sense of faculties or functions are founded on mindfulness, there is no liability to invasion or by covetousness and the rest. So recollecting the fire discourse, which begins thus: better bhikkhus, the extirpation of the eye faculty by a red-hot burning, blazing, glowing iron spike, then the apprehension of signs in the particulars of visible object cognizable by the eye. This restraint should be properly undertaken by preventing such unremitting mindfulness by any apprehension in the objective fields consisting of visible data, etc., or any signs, etc., likely to encourage covetousness, etc., to invade consciousness occurring in connection with eye door, and so on. So to conclude, tonight's reading is all about really restraining sense faculties, and the practice of mindfulness is when they talk about the prohibitive self-discipline, means restraining one's sense doors or sense consciousness rather, even those eyes balls cannot see. So that's why Heart Sutra says there's no eye. And it says, if the eye does not depend on the consciousness that is desiring object, then the eyeball does not see, because eyeball cannot see by itself without eye consciousness. So why is the eye consciousness not seeing the object? It's because restraining the consciousness. Restraining the consciousness would make the no eye. So because no eye means eyes and ears do not see or hear by themselves. If the mind faculty, consciousness of the person is not craving or desiring. So that's why bhikshus here use this last paragraph is very revealing. Better bhikkhus, extirpation of the eye faculty by red-hot burning, blazing, glowing iron spike, then the apprehension of signs. He almost used his eye restraint, sense restraint, as if a red-hot burning, blazing, glowing iron spike is touching his eyes. So if he loses his sense faculty, eye, to the sense organ or eye organ, and become craving and scheming and looking and seeking out and seeking for, and all those terms were used, wasn't it? So it's actually very much teaches how to be conscientious of our own consciousness. If the consciousness is mindfully guarded, then the downcast eyeballs is just outer behavior. But you can look like our downcast eyeballs, but actually mind is not. So that's what it is talking about. It looks like your downcast eyes, but actual eye consciousness is actually doing exact opposite to that. So who knows that? If the person himself or herself is unconscious, so they have to be able to restrain themselves. So this is all about the virtue of self-restraint. So we'll stop here at paragraph number 100. We finish. So this particular chapter would require us to another session for that. Thank you, everyone. This is, of course, incredible. The text about the sense restraint and the conduct of bhikkhus. While we may not have the karma or right set of circumstances to become bhikkhu, I'm not saying you can't, but it is very important to become familiarized that all the elder disciples of the Buddha, and definitely during the first couple of 100 years, and maybe some wonderful people are also able to live by this light, and that's exactly they are sticking with the spirit of the letter of the sutras, and therefore guarding among the four sanghas and fully ordained bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and shramaneras and shramanerikas. These four are definitely required to be practicing this. Other lay people take, like Uposatha, only 24 hours vows for 8 precepts. During that, they also try to live by that during that, temporarily for that 24 hours. But individuals who are not able to do that periodically, it doesn't mean they should see this is too much and beyond our imagination. Even in our everyday life, you will notice how much of this kind of restraint of thoughts, restraint of words, not speaking things, not saying things, not doing things, and of course, not thinking things. Because most Theravada literature all talks about physical, verbal. There's hardly any mention we have met so far about intention here. But it's hinted that the person's outer behavior is hinting, is scheming. That means his outer behavior might look very impressive, but he's doing it to hint and to seek out. So the teaching is actually implying that there is more than the outer behavior. But in the common society, it's the outer behavior that actually has the biggest kind of role or influence than the intention. So you can see how Mahayana schools developed that no matter how much outer behavior you may reveal, that looks very, very holy and venerable, but if the intention is tainted by something else, there are no such Vinaya vows. Vinaya vow is only primarily about physical and verbal vows. And that's why it's very delicate to break also. The breaking the Vinaya vows is if the moment you look at something, the moment you think of something, the moment you touch something, the vow gets very, very fragile from that point of view, because we're very physical people. And of course, guarding the mind itself from selfishness, from the wrong views, is not a domain of Vinaya teachings. Vinaya hardly talks about the intention of the vows. Not because it's not unimportant, but first people must be able to restrain their outer physical and verbal social behaviors, because it is to do with others. When the practitioner becomes very good renunciate, hiding in the mountains, spending years and renouncing all of these things, then he gets to know what's next. Then if his intention of doing all this abstention, all this amazing restraint, and living by very, very simple food and so on, but if he's doing it for the grasping of ego, I'm the one who need to seek nirvana myself before anybody else, with that attitude. That's why you can see how Buddhist thought would have would have grown over years, saying, is this the highest purpose of restraining? There are lots of pre-Buddhist Hindus, Indian religion, they did remarkably harder penance than Buddhists are doing. So that's why within Buddhists also, I would say, when the Buddhist thought matured or understood, many practitioners actually did live in the monastery, did live in this ascetics. Whole Shakya kingdom became empty because everybody became monastics. But later on, of course, the question arose, even among some realized scholars, monks, what they were outwardly doing need further improvement for the intention point of view. So intent is hardly discussed explicitly anyway in this kind of text. I'm saying this because there are lots of among you who are practitioners of Mahayana, where always the intention is highlighted. And this is not a departure from the importance of the sense restraint of body and speech, but it is almost expecting that those who have heard the Buddha's teachings like these must improve their thinking by not mere external governance of the one's body restraint and sense restraint is not going to spiritually attain nirvana at all, because if intention is just for me, for higher rebirth, respect by people because I live by the books, but if intention is just for personal liberation, then the practitioner themselves mature in meditation that they need to upgrade their purpose of the practice. That's why the Mahayana is not a new school, but it is more like growth. From the very ascetic practices, now they have to be real ascetic from self-grasping. World-grasping is renounced. You are not grasping renounced by monastic. But self is still maybe grasped and clinging to become so pure and holy and venerable, unlike everyone else, because you do not eat this, you do not touch this, you do not own this. So quite a lot of people are actually doing that. Among non-Buddhists, there are thousands of naked yogis who are practicing asceticism. And in many regards, even more ascetic than Buddhist practitioners, almost by the books. So therefore, we should understand that our practice emphasis on Mahayana bodhicitta motivation is not a contrary to this saying, overlooking sense restraint of body and speech and saying that my intention is more important. It's saying that in spite of your ability to practice asceticism, being able to renounce all of that, but your intention should be altruistic, not just for one's own attainment of nirvana or for higher rebirth or gaining respect by lay people or this like this. And those things are the pseudo shila, pseudo self-discipline. They are just artificial. So therefore, it is not saying other practitioners who live by these books are artificial, by the way. That will be another kind of a transgression, another kind of overlooking and judging others. But so that's why we have to holistically understand the relationship between this kind of practice, emphasize restraint, sense restraint, with the selfishness restraint. Mahayana is about selfishness restraint, and this kind of sutric teachings all about desire restraint, restraining from mundane desire for looks and appearance and so on. So if we understood that these are not some kind of schools of thoughts that really disagree among each other, we should see them as a natural growth or maturation of thought, while the idea of altruism is already a form of highest renunciation. Even you renounce food, even you renounce dinner, and even you renounce a woolen jacket or so what, but you're still full of self. Who knows whether that's the most hardest thing to renounce. So that's why the Mahayana is not a school that is opposite to this. not in contrast to this, but rather as a maturation on top of this. But with person who have not exercised sense restraint wouldn't understand restraint of selfishness. So some degree of step-by-step training must be accustomed to. However fragile our body is, because this almost expects you to be like a macho, that you are just almost like indestructible body, that your body doesn't suffer anything, you just live by whatever drops into your bowl. I think majority of people will collapse. Particularly the begging is illegal in countries. so we have to interpret everything with the correct understanding and the relevance. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's do the dedication. Merits of at least listening and thinking about this will sow some seeds of our share of restraint in our everyday life situations, whatever that may be. And whether it's thoughts, whether it's behaviors, or whether our manner, or whether it's our traits, being able to make small amendment and self-control is probably what we have to take. So shouldn't think these things are teachings for very austere bhikkhus. Why would I read this? Why would I listen this? We shouldn't think like that. So of course we are not thinking like that, but there may be some people say, I can't relate to monastics because I can't live like that. But that's not true. If one thinks about someone living a monastic life for a couple months, couple years, and they live by that, you can see, wow, how he can do that. Why can't I do that few? And that's why lay people take Uposatha vows twice a month in most traditional Buddhist culture. They go to the temple, and where they take the precepts and observe the 8 precepts and dedicate a whole day and time there doing meditation and to observe these kind of rules as a periodical opportunity to live like, because the word upasaka. Lord, upasaka means those who are aspiring to become like the monastics, even for one day a month. They live by 8 precepts. So accumulating like that every so often in a Buddhist community slowly goes to the aspirant of the practice, aspiring and rejoicing those who live by like that. And so we should therefore use these kind of seeds in our mind to develop some small drops of virtue or discipline that we need to pick, however small they may be, without thinking they're too small, because they said virtue should not be overlooked because of the smallness. Virtue should be earned because it's small. It's small drops of water that fills the jar. And so that's why this practice is all about how to restrain small non-virtues, and then thinking the even smallest piece of fire can burn the whole house. So therefore being able to exercise restraint. So this may not be monastically involved, but restraining ill will, restraining resentment, restraining covetousness, restraining anger, restraining judgment, resenting negativities of any physical or verbal behavior that people engages in. Those things are highly useful. There is no need for monastic. There's more practically necessary in every day-to-day happiness and every household. Depends on how one of the two or one of the three exercise such self-restraint, and for the fear of hurting the other, harming the other, and therefore, even it's hard for oneself, one rather exercise restraint. That's exactly the purpose of these teachings. So with this, we'll do the dedication of merits.
Om by this mere mevaga the deva menzanga omnes mehale bereda be from the ocean of the Erenda Mayana Dije whatever merit I have me obe castelevas to the Mayana Dije courage manjusne as ama Trabada de la follow it all the Zamba I shall de all the Mede excellent body Jeda Teba Erena Yedanza where has been Bometing Frelevedad Generation. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.